A mother, a daughter, a seemingly ordinary home. But what lay behind its doors would change everything forever. Madison Marshall, a young mother, did the unthinkable. In a dark twist of fate, her daughter Oaklee disappeared, and what followed, no one could have imagined. On the night of February 9th, 2023, chaos erupted. Abuse, fear, despair, an act of violence with no return, and a mother trapped between horror and guilt. Madison tried to save her, but it was too late. Oaklee's body was hidden. The truth was buried, but the worst was yet to come. Madison would face justice, and with it, the secrets she kept silent. A confession, a trial, and a story that left an indelible mark. But why? What drove a mother to do the unthinkable? Find out in the story of Madison Marshall and Oaklee Snow. Madison Marshall and her daughter Oaklee Snow, life before the crime. In the winter of 2023, Madison Marshall, a 24-year-old mother, was living with her daughter Oaklee Snow and son Colton, seeking a new life in Indianapolis. But what seemed like a step toward a promising future quickly turned into a tragedy that shook an entire community. Madison's story is a heartbreaking tale of abuse, desperation, and decisions that forever changed her daughter's life. This is the truth behind a mother who, in a dark twist of fate, found herself involved in a crime no one expected. Madison and her daughter Oaklee. Madison Marshall was a young mother who, despite her young age, seemed completely devoted to her daughter Oaklee. In photos, Madison always appeared smiling next to her daughter, and she came across as a loving and protective mother. But behind that facade of normalcy, there were disturbing signs that something was not right. Madison's close friend. Madison was always very affectionate with Oaklee. She was always attentive to her. However, when she started dating Roan, things started to change. I saw Madison becoming more stressed, and Oaklee was no longer the cheerful little girl she used to be. Madison had had a difficult life in Cromwell, Oklahoma, but her relationship with her daughter seemed stable enough. However, everything changed when she started dating Roan Waters. Waters, who at first appeared to be a father figure to Oaklee, ended up being a dangerous and abusive presence in their lives. The relationship with Roan Waters. In January 2023, Madison decided to move with Roan Waters and their children to Indianapolis. But what at first seemed like an opportunity for a new beginning quickly turned into a dangerous and violent environment. Waters began to exert increasingly abusive control over Madison and her children. Waters' behavior toward Oaklee was particularly disturbing. Neighbor. I remember Oaklee wasn't as outgoing as she used to be. When I used to see her, she seemed withdrawn, as if something had frightened her. Occasionally, I'd see Madison and Roan arguing on the street, and there was something strange about the atmosphere. Tensions were rising within the household. Roan Waters began punishing Oaklee with physical violence for small mistakes, and this left its mark on the child. Meanwhile, Madison, caught between her love for Roan and her fear of violence, chose to remain silent. The first signs of abuse. As the weeks passed, the signs of abuse became more apparent. Oaklee, once a playful child, began to show signs of fear, and her attitude changed drastically. Madison, however, didn't dare talk to anyone about what was happening. Madison always told us everything was fine, that she was working to give Oaklee a better life. But we could tell something wasn't right. The girl was quieter, more scared. Madison didn't tell us much, but we knew it wasn't normal. The crime and its repercussions. The tragedy. On February 9th, 2023, an act of violence changed little Oaklee's destiny. That night, Roan Waters ordered Oaklee to jump over a ball. According to Madison, Oaklee failed to do so correctly, unleashing Waters' fury. At that moment, the girl suffered a blow that rendered her unconscious. Madison, desperate, tried to revive her with cold water, but it was too late. Madison in prison, or reenactment of her confession. I heard Roan's screams. I saw Oaklee on the floor. She wasn't responding. I tried to give her cold water, but it didn't work. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified. Roan took my phone away when I tried to call 911. I didn't know how to get out of that situation. The concealment of the body. After Oaklee's death, Madison and Roan made a gruesome decision. Instead of calling authorities, they chose to hide the girl's body. In an attempt to get rid of the evidence, Madison and Roan wrapped Oaklee's body in a blanket and hid it in a dresser inside an abandoned house in Morgantown, Indiana. The police. When we found the body, it was already in an advanced state of decomposition. The fact that they tried to hide it in such a desolate place only shows the desperation and fear they felt. Madison's confession. As time passed, Madison began to feel overwhelmed by guilt. After days of interrogation, she finally confessed to what had happened. Her regretful account was the first of many dark twists in this case. Detective. Madison's confession was a pivotal moment. She told us she didn't know how to handle what had happened. In her mind, she was caught between fear of Roan and despair. But in the end, she was the one who allowed the truth to come out. Show Madison being interrogated by the police, her face marked by anguish as she confesses to the tragedy, the trial and the aftermath. Following Madison's confession, police were able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Madison was arrested and faced child neglect charges. In a plea agreement, she agreed to testify against Roan Waters, who was charged with murder and child abuse. The community and Oaklee's family were devastated by the events, and the search for justice for the little girl began. Defense attorney or prosecutor. This case is particularly heartbreaking. A mother who, despite the abuse she endured, was unable to protect her daughter. She now faces up to 25 years in prison, while Waters will be tried for murder. The Oaklee Snow case not only left a mark on her family, but also a scar on the community that knew her. The questions remain. Why didn't Madison act sooner? Why didn't she ask for help? Oaklee's tragedy reminds us that we must be more attentive to the signs of abuse and act quickly when a child's life is in danger. Family member or close friend. What happened to Oaklee is something we will never forget. It's a wound that will never heal, but at least now, her story is being heard. The story of Madison Marshall and Oaklee Snow is a grim reminder of how abuse can destroy lives, even when everything seems right. As justice takes its course, Oaklee's legacy lives on in those who loved her. Thank you for joining us in this heartbreaking story. If you'd like to learn more about child abuse and how to prevent it, please leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that seek to shed light on the darkest cases.